Sunday, and we're inside City Square, which is a new mall just opposite City Hall, 12th and Canby in Vancouver. My name is Terry David Mulligan, and welcome to the second of 3 specials in this month of November on Backtracks for you Backtraxians. The 3 greatest years in all of rock and roll. We established by your letters that the first year was 1957. Arguable? Yes. The second year, as we have been told by you, the viewer, is 1965. It was an amazing year, friends, an amazing year. It was the year that the Beatles consolidated their early success, the height of the British invasion, the dominance of Motown, the Stax Volt and the Stax Review with Sam and Dave and Otis Redding, folk-inspired rock on the West Coast, the surf music. It was a big time. We have videos from Otis Redding, Dave Clark 5, Sam the Sham, the Trogs, Jerry and the Pacemakers, the McCoys, Percy Sledge, Jay and the Americans, Lovin' Spoonful. It was the year that Alan Freed died. So did Nat King Cole. Eric Clapton left the Yardbirds, and Jeff Beck replaced him. The Stones hit #1 with Satisfaction, their first #1 ever. The Beatles played Shea Stadium, did their last British tour. They also won the MBE from the Queen, was honored with that, of course. My Generation by The Who was released in Britain. The Beach Boys, Help Me Rhonda, our first video, reached #1 in May of '65. It consolidated the Beach Boys' career. It opened up a whole new area, which was, hey, why worry about anything that's going on? Because the 60s were turbulent. Let's just surf. Brian Wilson, Dennis, Carl Wilson, Mike Love, and Al Jardine began a huge career for these guys that survives today from Hawthorne, California. And then Bob Dylan, Subterranean Homesick Blues. As you know, he started as a folkie. He electrified in 1965, went on tour with the band and was booed off many, many stages around the world. But in retrospect, that tour turned out to be one of the greatest ever. Bob Dylan, his first national hit, reached #39 in May of '65. Watch for Allen Ginsberg in here. The Beach Boys, Bob Dylan, starting out one of the great years in all of rock and roll, 1965 on Backtracks. Much music in stereo. Coming up on Backtracks, the Animals, Jerry and the Pacemakers, and the Dave Clark 5. If you didn't already know it, you are watching the nation's music station, Much Music. My name is Terry David Mulligan. The show you're watching is Backtracks. We're on every Sunday. In this particular month of November, the first 3 Sundays are devoted to the 3 greatest years in all of rock and roll. The last one will be an all-request show. We have a writing address at the end of the show. We need your requests to make it happen. Our first great rock and roll year was 1957, and I think we understand. No, carry on, please. Yes, of course, carry on. We're talking about the British invasion. By 1965, the British invasion was in full swing. I thought she was going to stick around. Everything British was golden. It was just absolutely wonderful. So here's 4 bands that were very typical of the British invasion. The Animals, We Got to Get Out of This Place. Eric Burdon, of course, the lead singer. Don't remember where this was recorded, but Chaz Chandler was still the bass player, which meant that he had not yet discovered Jimi Hendrix, I don't believe. This reached #13 in September of 1965. Eric Burdon looking more like New Orleans than Brighton or wherever he came from. Jerry and the Pacemakers, Ferry Across the Mersey, also managed by Brian Epstein, also from Liverpool. They once rivaled the Beatles for popularity in that town. This song, of course, was re-recorded recently as a fundraiser for the families killed at the for the families of those killed at the Liverpool versus Nottingham soccer match in England. A terrible tragedy. Dave Clark 5, I Like It Like That. These guys were extremely popular. Between '64 and '66, they hit the U.S. charts 18 times. I Like It Like That got to #7 in July of 1965. And an interesting video. Watch this one. Heart Full of Soul, the Yardbirds, reached #9 in August of '65. The black and white footage has Jeff Beck in the band. The color footage has Jimmy Page in the band. You decide who is the better guitarist. The British invasion from 1965, one of the greatest years in all of rock and roll on Backtracks. How Much Music? That's the Namibia national flag, I do believe. This is Backtracks. My name is Mulligan. Welcome to the show. Counting down the 3 greatest years in all of rock and roll, this year being 1965. You may disagree. You may think that '67 was a great year with Sgt. Pepper, but '65 was amazing because it had this incredible mix of British invasion, surf and folk music from the coast, Memphis, Stax Volt, and of course Motown. We'll get to that in a minute. Now we get to the influence of dance music as opposed to thinkers music, which is some of the which were some of the changes going on in '65. Were you there, Raj? Where were you? You got the McCoys, Hang On Sloopy. They opened for the Stones in 1965 on the Stones' first tour. Rick Derringer was the lead singer and the guitarist. It reached #1 in September of 1965 and replaced Eve of Destruction by Barry McGuire. You remember that one? Which showed that we were kind of going from thinking music to dance music, all right? Sam the Sham, Wooly Bully, what a great record this is. Reached #2 in May of '65. Some really stupid dancing in this one. It was the influence of the Tex-Mex sound, which would be followed up later on by the Sir Douglas Quintet, as a matter of fact. The Byrds, Turn, 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 very serious piece of music here, reached #1 in November of '65. Bob Dylan loved it, completely changed his thinking of how his tunes would go and electrified his music and changed rock and roll in one fell swoop. Great harmonies. David Crosby with the cape over in the corner being very cool, with the little eyeglasses, of course, Roger McGuinn, an unmistakable sound, the Byrds. And the Love and Spoonful, Do You Believe in Magic? Reached #9 in September '65. It was their first chart entry. It was a big hit for them, and I love just watching Zal Yanofsky play. This is great. It's 1965 in review, friends, on Backdraft. City Square in Vancouver. My name is Terry David Mulligan. Are people actually Christmas shopping, you figure, Roger?
Absolutely.
Huh? You figure they are? You have my present?
Of course.
Okay, fine. Well, we'll start the countdown to Christmas. It starts too soon for me, but commercially it starts too soon. However, I love Christmas. I'm a hopeless romantic, and so I get into that mode pretty quick here. Anyway, back to Backtracks. Get yourself a pen and paper. We need your requests for the last show of November. It's an all-request show, as per usual. Send them to Bob Moss, okay? '65 was a bumper year for black music. You had Motown just cranking out the hits in Hitsville, USA, Detroit, Michigan. And south of them, in Memphis, Tennessee, you had Booker T and the MGs being the house band for Stax Volt, Otis Redding, Carla Thomas, Rufus Thomas, Sam and Dave, Johnny Taylor. It was an incredible time for black music. We'll give you an example here. As the Rolling Stone put out a book called Rock of Ages, and they called this particular segment Red Clay versus Sequins, the Sequins being Detroit. The Supremes stopped in the name of love. You got to do the hand signals when you do this. It hit #1 in March of 1965. It was written by Holland Dozier Holland, who are going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and rightly so. And this particular footage is from Ready, Steady, Go, which was a huge television show at the time in England. Also from Ready, Steady, Go is Otis Redding's Satisfaction. It was released straight after the Stones' Satisfaction, and I don't believe Otis heard the original. It hit the top of the R&B charts at the time, of the Stones blew right by him in terms of the Billboard charts. The interesting thing is, on the Stones' current tour, they do Otis Redding's version, not their own, which I think is a great tribute. And finally, Percy Sledge, When a Man Loves a Woman, one of the great drum tracks in all of rock and roll and rhythm and blues, recorded December of 1965, reached #1 in the pop in early of 1966. Some of the great black performers in rhythm and blues, 1965 on Back. If we have time, up next, the Trogs' Wild Thing, and Jay and the Americans, Caramel. Listen, Quality Home Products have been very, very special to us. They have allowed us to show the rock and roll history. We have the invasion of the 60s, the fabulous 50s. It's a set of 5 videotapes, friends. Let me tell you about it. The 50s, Bill Haley, Elvis Presley, all that stuff, Buddy Holly. The English invasion of the 60s, which includes the Zombies, Dave Clark 5, Man for Man, the Animals, Love and Spoonful, the American rock of the 60s, the McCoys, Sam the Sham, Jay and the Americans, stuff that we've showed you, or we're about to show you. They also have Fun with the Fab Four and Rare Moments with the King, Elvis Presley. It's a 5 videotape set. We have 5 packages to give away. If you would simply write your name, your address, your phone number, and why you watch and what you want to know about, to Backtracks, here at Much West, Suite 305, 560 Beatty, Vancouver, BC, V6B, 2L3. And if you do it really quickly, and we'll announce our 5 winners, you can have it in time for Christmas, and hey, won't that be fun? Okay, so we'll leave you with one great hit, Jay and the Americans, Carry Me in Mind. We think that the second guy from the left is Donald Fagen from, Donald Fagen from Steely Dan. We think. But the other video is bogus. It was released in '65, but really it was a hit in '66. It's Wild Thing by the Trogs. It's really stupid. I think you'll enjoy it. If you're into Spinal Tap, you'll love this. This has been Backtracks. We'll see you next Sunday with the last of our 3 greatest years in all of rock and roll, and we'll tell you at that time what it is, because at this moment we don't know. Get out of here. See ya.
All those years ago.
Backtracks is brought to you by Petro-Canada dealers and distributors across Canada.
When last we saw you, which was, I think, last Friday, we were in front of the Pan Pacific Hotel and we saw the fridge, and we said, why don't we, Sunday on Backtracks, take a ride in the car? Now, we have a traditional thing. There's two things we do when summer arrives here in Vancouver. We scam a ride out of you.
Yes, no problem.
In the vehicle, and we go on the Royal Hudson.
There you go.
All right? Now, before we, what kind of vehicle is this?
This is a 1930 Model A Ford Phaeton.
A Ford what?
Ford Phaeton.
Was that a top of the line kind of?
That's a Greek word that means sun chariot. So that's exactly what you're doing here, riding into the sunshine.
She's in good shape. Okay, well, if we're going to do this, let's do it right, all right?
Let's do her.
I'll get in here. Dwayne, you get in. Whilst I tell you, this is an all-request Backtracks. The park, sir, I think would be a pro.
The park?
Apropos.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Fridge. Watch your show every weekend. Enjoy so much. I was wondering, this is from John Rousel in Point Leamington, Newfoundland. They want Brian Adams, summer of '69. Perfect. And we'll follow it up with a request from Ed Tamsey in London, Ontario. Ed says, Sammy Hagar. I love the Sammy Hagar. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I know that members of Van Halen, Mike Anthony, and the Van Halen brothers appear in some of their videos, but how about, if you can't find that, how about Can't Drive 55? Ladies and gentlemen, it's so apropos. Sammy Hagar and Brian Adams back-to-back on Backtracks on the nation's music station, Much Music. Welcome back, friends. We are the runt of the litter on the West Coast. We are the nation's music station, Much Music, and we're Backtracks. And this is the fridge, and this is the fridge's car. And you do this every day?
Every day, yeah.
Every day?
Rain or shine, snow or sleet.
Do you ever have a language problem with the folks?
No, I'm pretty good at pointing.
Pointing and saying, want, eat. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. We're on Robson Street. Easy as she goes, Captain. It's an all-request Backtracks. It's just the kind of hang, you know? This is the kind of thing you want to do when you come for the Junos in March. What do we got here? What do we got? We got from Gary Vanderweel in just outside of Stratford, Tavistock, Ontario. He wants Footloose by Kenny Loggins. Should we play him? Kenny Loggins? Footloose? Okay. All right. And also the same request from Marcel Turin, I believe the name is, in Borden, Ontario. You guys should get together. Wow, look at all the people and the places and the things. Very nice. Okay, there you go. Is that good?
Am I on TV now?
You're on TV now. You want to say hello to anybody?
I'll say hi to my mom and dad.
Where?
Burns Lake.
Burns Lake. Thank you so much. All right, friend. We'll follow it up with, what do we got here? Oh, yeah, somebody loved watching me die in MacGyver. She had a party. Sheila Kinoshamig. Sheila's up in, where are you? Where do you live? Manitoulin Island, of course. Sheila K. You want Billy Idol? I said out of face, no problem. And a great letter from Paula. But Paula, I threw away the envelope. I hope that your address is here. Hi, how are you? Paula wants something from John Cougar Mellencamp. Paula, you know who you are. You wrote this on May the 26th. This is an all-request Backtracks. Robson Street, the heart of Vancouver. Ladies and gentlemen, these Backtrackians are with you. Stanley Park and all-request Backtracks. Got a great letter here. Says, Dear T.D. Mulligan, fantastic, cool, whatever. Much better than that annoying Steve Gag Me Anthony. Anyway, this is from Jody Sofa, Marmora, Ontario. Please play Take My Breath Away by Berlin for Mike McHale. All right? They got parted a couple of months ago and they want to see each other again. And then a Joan Armour trading video for Gordon Finney in Hamilton, Ontario, no problem. And a double shot for Queen for Karen Rashid, don't know where she's from, but for Tom LeBouf, du LeBouf de Medium Rare in, hang in there, in Windsor, Ontario, at St. Clair College, another Queen's double shot. This is an all-request backtracks from Stanley Park. Look at this, check it out. All right, dog, come here. Hey, happening dude. How you doing, man? What's happening, boss dog? We're here in Stanley Park with our friend the Fridge. He does this every day. If you come to Vancouver, check out the car. It's wonderful.
Early motion tours.
Early motion tours. Garden Party by Marillion, no problem. This goes out to Sean Driscoll in Halifax, Nova Scotia. In Port Alberni lives Carol Spencer. She liked Joni Mitchell's Shiny Toys. Beautiful letter. Thank you so much. And we'll follow it up with, what was the other one here? Give me the 4. Give me the 4, please. Be there. There it is. Punk Rock Girl by Dead Milkman, who will be in town at the Town Pump June the 27th. That's for Karen in Osoyoos. Yeah. Thank you, all requests. Thank you. Well, hey, how are you? So we've been seeing the back of his head here in Backtracks. This is the Fridge, okay? Watch for him. Now you're sharing Stanley Park with horses, with bikes, with tour buses. It's another summer, friends.
TDM.
TDM. I got a great letter here from Paul Saunders in Toronto. He asked for 3 things I couldn't give him. Some vintage Allman Brothers. Couldn't quite come up with that. Blue Sky Ramblers, Harry Chapin, or Dr. Music. I swore we had a Dr. Music video, and I don't think we do. Anyway, thank you for the letter. There's been an all-request backtrack. Send your request to Backtracks, Care of Much West, Suite 305, 560 BD, Vancouver, BC, V6B 2L3. And we'll do it again the last Sunday of every month, so we'll see you in July, all right? That's us. Let's get out of here. Man, leave him.
There we go. See ya.
We'll see you tomorrow. Take care of yourself.